Welcome to The Explainer. We're so often buried in data, in charts and reports that tell us what is happening. But how do we find out why? Well, today we're going to break down the art of the research interview. Think of this as your personal masterclass in asking the right questions to really uncover the human story behind all those numbers. So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by setting up the mission, then we'll dive into the different styles of questions you can ask. After that, we'll get into the real art of the conversation itself, figure out the best place to actually have it, and then wrap it all up with the most important takeaways. Sound good? Let's get into it.
All right, let's kick things off. Before we even think about what questions to ask, we've got to understand why the interview is such a uniquely powerful tool for any kind of research. Think about it this way. Let's say your sales are dropping, or maybe employee engagement is just tanking. The data tells you what's wrong, sure, but it can't tell you why. That's the gap, right? To understand the human experience behind the numbers, what people are really thinking and feeling, you got to talk to them. You have to have a conversation.
Now, in the research world, this has a name: primary data. This isn't stuff you just find lying around in an old report. No, this is fresh, original insight that you go out and gather yourself, straight from the source. And a great interview, it's one of the absolute best ways to get it. And let's be really clear here. An interview is not just some casual chat. It's a guided, purposeful conversation. It has a goal, it has a direction, and there's a clear intent to uncover information. It really is a craft. Okay, on to section 2. Now that we know what our tool is, let's look at the 2 basic ways you can use it. And your choice really boils down to one simple question. Are you exploring brand new territory, or are you trying to confirm something you already think is true? The analogy here is perfect. Think of the unstructured interview on the left as being a detective at a fresh crime scene. You're just asking these broad questions, trying to get a feel for what even happened. But the structured interview on the right, that's the interrogation. You've got a suspect, you've got a theory, and you have a very specific list of questions designed to confirm. This right here is a classic unstructured question. It's a wide open invitation. You're not leading them anywhere, you're basically asking them to draw the map for you. The whole goal is to see what they bring up first, to let them show you what's most important on their mind. Now, a structured interview is the complete opposite. It follows a very precise script. You'll usually start with some easy warm-up questions to build a bit of a rapport, and then you move logically, step by step, to the main subject. The key here is consistency, because that lets you easily compare answers from different people. All right, section 3, mastering the conversation. Look, choosing your style is just the beginning. How you actually conduct the interview, the way you ask and listen and respond, that's where the real skill comes in. In any interview, your number one enemy is bias. It's anything that pollutes the data and just distorts the truth. And the tricky thing is, it can sneak in from anywhere. From you, from the person you're interviewing, or even just from the room you're in. Your job is to be a detective for bias and root it out. So here's your basic toolkit. First and foremost, you have to establish rapport. Trust is everything. Then use what's called the funnel technique. Start broad and then slowly get more specific. You also have to ask unbiased questions. So avoid leading them with something like, "So your work must be pretty boring, right?" And finally, always clarify what they're saying to make sure you've got it right. But what happens when you ask this brilliant, open-ended question and you get a dead-end answer? Like, "So, how's the project going?" "Fine." Ugh, it's a classic challenge. We've all been there. So what do you do next? Well, turns out there are some pretty simple tactics to get them to open up. What's so fascinating is how simple these probing tactics are. You don't need some kind of Jedi mind trick. Sometimes just a strategic pause is enough. People feel this natural urge to fill the silence. Or you can just repeat their answer back to them as a question. These are simple but incredibly powerful tools for going deeper. Okay, section 4, choosing the arena. The what of your interview is critical, but so is the where. Believe it or not, the physical or even the virtual space you choose can dramatically change the quality of the whole conversation. And this chart just lays out that core trade-off perfectly. Face-to-face is rich with data. I mean, you get body language, which is huge, but it's expensive and it's slow. The telephone, on the other hand, is fast and cheap. It gives you incredible scale, but you lose all of those nonverbal cues. Plus, it's way easier for someone to just say, "Gotta go," and end the conversation early. So beyond the medium, you also have to decide, are we going one-on-one or are we getting a group together?
An individual interview is what you want for a really deep, personal dive into one person's world. A group interview, though, is for seeing how ideas spark and evolve when people can bounce them off each other. A focus group is a really special, powerful type of group interview. It is definitely not a survey, it's a guided discussion. The goal is to capture what's called qualitative data, all the feelings and opinions that come out in a real conversation. This is perfect if you're, say, testing a new product idea or trying to figure out why a marketing campaign isn't connecting with people. And of course, technology completely changes the game. Things like computer-assisted telephone interviewing or Caddy can automate dialing and guide the interviewer for consistency. And hey, video conferencing, it kind of gives you the best of both worlds, the global reach of a phone call, but with all those crucial nonverbal cues you get from a face-to-face meeting. All right, let's bring it all home with our final section, the takeaway. We've gone through the whole process, from purpose all the way to practice. So let's boil it all down to the essentials you really need to walk away with. Here it is, your final checklist. It all just comes down to being intentional. Know your goal from the very beginning. Master the techniques to guide the conversation. Build trust as your absolute foundation. And finally, choose the right format for your specific needs. Every single step is a strategic choice. Because in the end, mastering the research interview isn't just about collecting data. It's about developing the skill, the technique, and honestly the wisdom to find the human story that is always, always waiting just behind the numbers.